The price of life, what a billionaire can't buy. Her name was never printed on Forbes. Her bank account would never make headlines. She owned no estates, no helicopters, no offshore empires. But when she spoke, the room stopped. Because the words she carried were forged in fire, not finance. Pain had been her teacher, silence her mentor, and somewhere along her journey, she uncovered a truth most billionaires never touch. There is a price to life, and it cannot be paid with money. She sat in a hospital corridor once, fluorescent lights humming above her, the antiseptic air too clean to breathe. Her hands clutched an envelope, white, thin, worthless in value. Yet inside it was everything, a diagnosis that would alter her reality forever. The doctors spoke, in technical language, but all she heard was time, or rather the lack of it. "I'm sorry," they said, as if that word had ever rebuilt a life. In that moment, she thought of all the things she had chased. Promotions, applause, the endless pursuit to belong in rooms that never truly saw her. And now her body was counting down. Now she'd give up everything for just one more day. But there was no bank in the world that traded time for dollars. Not even a billionaire could buy back what she was about to lose. We think life is long. We act as though tomorrow is guaranteed. We scroll, we schedule, we survive, but living, that's something we postpone until the paycheck clears, until the business grows, until we're comfortable. But the clock doesn't wait for comfort. Tick, you missed your daughter's recital. Tick, you ignored the phone call that would have mended a broken relationship. Tick, you chose the meeting over the moment, and by the time you finally look up, you realize you've built an empire but lost your soul in the process. There's a man who once sat across from a dying parent, too ashamed to cry. He had everything money could buy, properties in Dubai, stocks, power, presence. But in that room, he was the poorest man alive, because no amount of wealth can reverse death. No title can erase regret. No empire can buy back time lost in selfish pursuit. And here's the part they won't tell you. The world will applaud your hustle. Even as it buries your heart, they'll cheer your success. While your soul crumbles in silence, they'll repost your milestones, but no one shows up when your time runs out, because the world values productivity. But God values purpose. And when your clock strikes its final second, it won't be your car, your brand, or your net worth that follows you. It will be your choices, your impact, your integrity, and your eternity. She looked in the mirror once and whispered, "I have everything, except time." And then she wept. Not because she was weak, but because she was finally awake. So let me ask you, what is your life really worth? Not in dollars, not in likes, not in assets, but in truth. Would you be proud if the clock stopped now? Would you rest, knowing you lived with depth? Or would you beg for one more chance? Because the real price of life isn't in what you own, it's in what you give, it's in who you become, it's in how you love. When no one is watching, and none of it can be bought. I used to think I was rich until I realized my heart was poor. But then I found a different kind of wealth. Not in a vault, not in a boardroom, not even in my own strength. But in the one who gave me life. My time is his. My breath is borrowed. My purpose is eternal. My strength comes from the Lord, the creator of all things. And every second I live is a gift from him. This health, the wealth that fades, what a billionaire can't buy. She looked strong on the outside. Her hair was perfect, her smile rehearsed, her stride confident. But inside, something was crumbling. She ignored the warning signs, the fatigue, the pain, the quiet cries her body whispered every day, because she thought she had time, because she thought she had control. Because when the world praises your hustle, rest feels like failure. And so she pushed. Harder, faster, longer. She traded sleep for success, meals for meetings, peace for performance. Until the day her body said, "Enough." They told her to sit down. They said her heart wasn't stable. They said the scans didn't look good. They said she'd have to slow down or stop completely, and that's when it hit her. What's the point of reaching the top if your health won't let you enjoy it? She had spent her life investing in companies, portfolios, properties, but she had never invested in herself. And now her body was bankrupt. We live like we're invincible. We consume pills instead of pausing. We numb our pain instead of naming it. We wear busyness like a badge, while our bodies keep the score. We mock the idea of rest. We laugh at people who take breaks. We idolize the grind. And then we wonder why we feel empty even when our schedule is full. But here's the truth. Your health is your foundation. When it cracks, everything else falls. And once it's gone, not even your billions can bring it back. There was a man who once owned a fleet of private jets. He could fly anywhere, but after his third stroke, he couldn't even stand without help. His body, once feared in boardrooms, was now fragile. And in his silence, he whispered, "I would give up everything just to walk again." You see, money can buy hospitals, it can buy doctors, it can buy the best medicine on earth, but it can't buy healing, it can't buy time back, it can't undo what you ignored for too long. And here's the deeper truth no one wants to face. Sometimes our sickness isn't just physical, sometimes it's spiritual, an exhaustion of the soul, a fatigue rooted in fear, pride, and disconnection from our Creator. We feed the body junk and call it convenience. We feed the soul nothing and call it strength. And when both collapse, we finally start asking the right questions. She looked at herself in the mirror after weeks of treatment. Hair thinner, skin pale, eyes heavy, but for the first time, she didn't see a machine. She saw a miracle, and with trembling lips she whispered, "I'm still here. Thank you, God." Because real strength isn't in muscles, it's in surrender. It's in realizing you were never your own source of life. So let me ask you, when was the last time you thanked your heart for beating, your lungs for breathing, your legs for moving? When was the last time you looked up and said, "God, thank you for this body"? Even broken, even tired, it's a gift. Because health isn't guaranteed, it isn't permanent, it isn't earned, it's a gift. And the giver? He's the one who formed your bones in secret, who breathed life into dust, who knit you together in the womb. My strength doesn't come from vitamins or willpower. It comes from the Lord, who heals what the world cannot. He restores, He renews, He resurrects. So today, I don't just thank God for my health. I thank Him for every breath, every step, every sunrise that meets me in weakness and reminds me I'm still alive, and that means He's not finished with me yet. The smile that doesn't come from wealth, what a billionaire can't buy. He had the kind of smile that sold magazines. He laughed on stage, shook hands with presidents, and signed checks with enough zeros to feed nations. But when the lights went out, when the cameras stopped flashing, when the luxury doors clicked shut behind him, he sat in silence, alone, empty, because what he had built was a kingdom without peace, a stage without substance, a life so loud it drowned out his soul's scream. You see, happiness looks like a yacht on Instagram, but in real life, it's quiet, simple, holy. It's a child's laugh, a warm cup of coffee on a cold morning, a hug you didn't expect, a breath you didn't think you'd get to take. But we don't chase that. No, we chase applause, we chase luxury, we chase that next fix, the next thing that promises to finally make us feel something, and when we get it, we're still not full, because happiness has never been for sale. There's a woman who once bought the world, or tried, vacations in the Maldives, designer closets, private chefs. Her smile shined for millions of followers, but at night, she drank to silence the ache. She curled up next to strangers who didn't know her name. She stared at ceilings and asked, "Why do I have everything and still feel nothing?" Because the heart wasn't designed to be filled with things. It was designed to be filled with love, with purpose, with truth, and no dollar amount can deliver that. They lied to us. They said happiness was a destination. They said we'd get there after success, after marriage, after kids, after retirement. But what if happiness isn't after? What if it's now? What if it's a decision, a posture of the soul, a surrender? I used to believe happiness was a finish line. I ran, I worked, I performed, and when I crossed that invisible mark, I still felt incomplete until I realized I wasn't chasing happiness. I was running from emptiness, and then, one night, alone and tired, I dropped to my knees. No audience, no applause, just me and the truth. I whispered, "God, I don't want more things. I want more of you." And for the first time in years, I felt it. Peace, stillness, joy. Not because my bank account changed, but because my heart did. So let me ask you, if you lost everything today, would you still smile? Would you still sing? Would you still worship? Because real happiness doesn't come from the outside in. It comes from the inside up. It comes from knowing you're loved, that your soul has a home, that your story has meaning. My joy isn't tied to my income. It's anchored in eternity. And my smile, it's not made of gold, it's made of grace, because the one who created me also rejoices over me. He delights in me, he sustains me, and in his presence I find the one thing this world can never sell, a joy that never fades. Character, who are you when no one's watching? What a billionaire can't buy. He walked into every room like he owned it, because he did. Boardrooms bowed to his name. Deals trembled at his signature. People smiled, not out of love, but out of fear. But no one knew what he did when the doors closed. No one knew the version of him that didn't wear the suit. The version that snapped in anger, that manipulated, that lied, that hid, because money can buy reputation. It can buy PR. It can even buy silence, but it will never buy character. Character is what lives when no one's clapping. It's who you are when there's no audience. It's the voice inside that whispers, "This is wrong." And whether you listen or silence it defines everything. There's a story of a man who built an empire, but his children called him a stranger. His wife called him a tyrant. His employees called him brilliant and cruel, and when his name was engraved on marble, his heart had already been forgotten. Because success without integrity is a beautiful mask on a hollow soul. They'll remember what you owned, but they'll never forget how you treated them. Your legacy isn't in your assets, it's in your character, and no inheritance will cover a life lived in duplicity. You see, character isn't proven in comfort. It's revealed in pressure, when you're tempted to lie to protect yourself, when you could steal and never be caught, when you could cut corners and profit faster. That's when God watches, not your followers, not your investors. God, because he doesn't reward appearance, he rewards truth. He exalts the humble, he exposes the proud. She once stood at a crossroads. One path meant silence and success, the other honesty and loss. And when she chose to speak up, she lost the deal. She lost the platform. She lost the spotlight, but she kept something most people trade too easily, her soul. And in her tears, she prayed, "God, I'd rather lose the world than lose your approval." Character is the unseen currency of heaven. And when this world burns, and it won't be your wealth that follows you. It will be your witness, your truth, your integrity. So let me ask you, who are you when no one's watching? Would your secrets survive the light? Would your words echo honor? Would God be pleased with the private version of you? Because I've learned something. A reputation can be bought, but character is forged in pain, in silence, in obedience. And when I didn't have the strength to stand in truth, I called on the only one who never bends. My strength comes from the Lord, the righteous judge who sees it all. And with him, I don't need to pretend. I don't need to perform. I just need to walk in truth. even when it costs me everything, because that's the kind of wealth no one can take away. Intimacy with God, the only eternal richness what a billionaire can't buy. He had built towers that touched the sky. He had bought islands most people never heard of. He wore timepieces worth more than homes. People bowed, cameras flashed, crowds roared. But late at night, when the applause faded, when the plane doors closed, when his reflection met him in a penthouse mirror, he felt a void no vault could fill, because he had everything except peace. He had hired therapists. He had tried meditation. He had burned sage, followed gurus, quoted Stoics, but nothing calmed the storm. Nothing slowed the thoughts. Nothing filled the silence between one breath and the next, because what his soul craved wasn't affirmation. It was connection, not with people, not with power, but with his creator. You see, we were never designed to be gods. We were designed to be sons. And when we try to build kingdoms without the king, we find ourselves sitting on thrones of sand. The world offers religion, rituals, motivational quotes wrapped in spirituality. But only one thing satisfies: intimacy with God. And intimacy isn't loud, it's not flashy, it doesn't trend, it's personal, it's quiet, it's sacred, it's crying in the shower and whispering, "God, are you there?" And hearing him say, "I never left." There's a woman who once thought she lost everything. Her marriage collapsed, her business failed. Her name was dragged through the mud. But on the floor of her one-bedroom apartment, with bills she couldn't pay and hope she couldn't feel, she opened a Bible. Not to read, not to study, but to survive. And in those pages, she found the arms that held her when no one else would. She didn't find rules, she found relationship. She didn't find guilt, she found grace. Because intimacy with God isn't about perfection. It's about proximity. It's about showing up broken, empty, confused, and letting him be enough. Let me ask you, do you know his voice? Do you recognize his presence? Do you miss him when you drift? Or has your success deafened you? Has your ambition numbed you? Has your wealth made you forget the one who gave you breath? I chased everything this world promised. Status, recognition, glory, but none of it held me, none of it healed me, none of it loved me when I couldn't love myself. Only God did, and when I finally dropped the weight of pretending, when I finally stopped chasing and started seeking, I met the one who had been waiting all along. My intimacy with God is my greatest treasure, not my titles, not my influence. Not even my calling, just him, and in his presence I found what the world can't replicate: stillness, joy, purpose, and a love that never runs dry. So no, a billionaire can't buy this because it's not for sale, it's a gift. And to the one who seeks the weight of your past, what a billionaire can't buy. He walked with purpose, with power, with precision. To the world he was unstoppable. A titan who turned every failure into fortune, a name that echoed in corridors of power. But there was a door in his mind he never opened, a hallway he never walked down, because behind that door lived his past, and no matter how far he ran, no matter how high he climbed, it followed him. At night, it would whisper, reminding him of faces he abandoned, people he betrayed, moments. He chose ambition over humanity. No luxury watch could turn back the hour he failed his child. No yacht could carry him far enough from the woman whose heart he broke. No donation, no award, no applause could drown the echo of the man he used to be, because money can cover your tracks, but it can't clean your soul. We all carry something, that one mistake, that silence when we should have spoken, that action we'd erase if we could, and the world tells us to move on, to numb it, to bury it under success, to silence it with distraction. But what you bury alive never dies. It festers, it poisons, it haunts. There's a woman who built her life on reinvention, new look, new city, new followers. But no matter where she went, she couldn't escape the girl in the mirror who knew the truth. And one day, when the lights went out, she fell to her knees and cried, "God, if you still want me, I'm yours." Because here's the truth. You can't outrun your past, but you can surrender it, not to time, not to therapy alone, not to people who'll only see the worst in you. You surrender it to the only one who sees everything and still says, "You're mine." We think grace is for the weak, that mercy is for the desperate, that forgiveness is something we have to earn. But the gospel says you are forgiven, not because you deserve it, but because he already paid for it. Let me ask you, are you tired of pretending, of performing, of carrying guilt like a second skin? Have you let your past define your future? Because Jesus didn't die to improve your reputation. He died to redeem your soul. My freedom didn't come from forgetting my past. It came from facing it and laying it at the feet of the cross. And in that moment I heard it, not in thunder, not in fire, but in stillness. You are not who you were. You are who I say you are. So no, a billionaire can't buy this. No amount of wealth can erase shame. But grace covers everything. And today I stand not as someone perfect, but as someone forgiven, not because I paid the price, but choosing love over revenge. What a billionaire can't buy. He remembered every face, every smirk that mocked him, every hand that betrayed him, every voice that called him not enough. They thought he would never rise. They laughed when he struggled. They celebrated his fall. And when success finally knocked, when his name filled the halls they once barred him from, he had a choice: crush them or forgive them. The world told him to make them pay, to remind them who they underestimated, to return every insult with a strike, to smile as he outshined them all. And oh, how tempting it was, because revenge feels like justice when your heart still bleeds. But late at night, with everything he could ever want, he still heard their voices. Not the hate, but the pain it planted in him. And he realized he had built his empire on anger, and now it owned him. You see, bitterness doesn't burn your enemies, it burns you, silently, slowly, like a poison disguised as strength. And the more you feed it, the more it eats your soul. She once sat across from the woman who ruined her life, bankrupted her company, destroyed her name, took everything. And as she looked into her eyes, she had the power to retaliate. But instead, she whispered, "I forgive you." Not because the woman deserved it, but because she did. She deserved peace. She deserved healing. She deserved freedom from the cage revenge had built around her. They won't tell you this, but here's the truth. Vengeance is exhausting, and love is the only road to rest. Love isn't weakness, it's warfare. It's choosing to carry grace where bitterness demands blood. It's Jesus on the cross saying, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." Let me ask you, who are you still trying to prove wrong? Who lives rent-free in your thoughts? Who stole your peace, and why are you still letting them? Revenge won't fix what they broke, but forgiveness will rebuild you. I was once a slave to payback, until I realized I wasn't punishing them, I was punishing myself. And I said, "God, teach me to love the way you loved me, when I didn't deserve it." And he did, slowly, tenderly, relentlessly. He took my clenched fists and opened them. He replaced wrath with mercy. And in the ashes of my anger, he planted a new heart. So no, a billionaire can buy bodyguards, security, legal power, but he cannot buy peace, because peace is found on the battlefield of the heart, and it is won not through vengeance, but through love. And love, true love, it comes from above. My ability to live is Christ, to die is gain. What a billionaire can't buy. He stood at the edge of his empire. Skyscrapers bore his name. News anchors praised his genius. His face was carved into the mountain of modern success. But when the diagnosis came, when the doctors used words like terminal and irreversible, he realized something chilling. He had built everything except eternity. Suddenly, stocks didn't matter. Cars lost their shine. The mansion echoed with silence. His mind wasn't on deals, it was on death, and he was terrified because for all his power, for all his wealth, he was still mortal, still fragile, still just a man. You see, we plan our lives with confidence. Retirement funds, legacy buildings, philanthropic endowments. But we rarely ask the most urgent question. What happens when this life ends? Because one day it will, and when it does, no billionaire will buy another breath. No influencer will trend past the grave. No empire will stand against the judgment of God. Paul, the apostle, wrote from a prison cell. He wasn't draped in gold. He wasn't admired by the world. He was awaiting execution, but he said something no king, no CEO, no mogul has dared to say in comfort. To live is Christ. To die is gain. Philippians 1:21. Because Paul knew what we forget. This life is not the point. There was a woman once, successful, admired, adored, but when her body began to fail, when every test came back worse than the last, she didn't panic. She smiled, because her treasure wasn't here. Her joy didn't come from what she owned. It came from whom she belonged to. She once said, "If today is my last breath, I've already won, because my life wasn't mine, it was his." That's the kind of peace no insurance policy can provide. That's the kind of certainty no investment portfolio can promise. That's the kind of wealth only eternity can offer. Let me ask you, if today was your last sunrise, would you be ready? Would your soul rest in peace or be gripped by fear? Would you look back with gratitude or regret? Because life doesn't end in a grave. It continues somewhere, and only one name can guarantee where that is. Not your title, not your net worth, not even your good deeds. Only Jesus. I've made peace with death because I've made peace with God. And now, I don't just live for comfort. I live for Christ. And when my time comes, I won't cling to this world. I'll walk into eternity with confidence, because to live is Christ, and to die is gain. What a billionaire can't buy. The true price of life. You've just walked through 8 truths that eyes cannot see when they are blinded by the glitter of gold. Time, health, happiness, character, intimacy with God, a redeemed past, the power to love without vengeance, and finally, eternity. Now pause and breathe, not as someone who just watched another video, but as someone who, in this moment, has been confronted with something deeper. You can have the whole world and still be empty inside, or you can have Christ and be complete, even when you have nothing. This is the great inversion. True power is not in conquering more, but in surrendering to what is eternal. Perhaps you recognized yourself in one of these stories. Perhaps you carry guilt, anger, fear, vanity. Perhaps you feel you've reached the top, but are still in the dark. If that's the case, this video didn't come by chance. Because the Spirit of God still speaks, still calls, still waits. Today is the day you can surrender your life to a greater purpose. Today is the day you can abandon the insatiable pursuit of things and begin to seek the presence of the one who created all things. I want to hear from you. Which of these truths cut you the deepest? Which of these eternal riches have you been ignoring? Leave it in the comments, not as an answer to me, but as a declaration to yourself, a commitment, a step. Because sometimes all God waits for is for us to stop running and finally turn to Him. If this video spoke to you, share it. Someone you love might be struggling in silence, trying to buy what only God can give. And remember, it's not what you have that makes you eternal. It's in whom you believe. The Mistress Empire thanks you for walking with us this far. See you in the next video, where stories confront, transform, and bring us closer to who we truly are. Until then, live with purpose, love with truth, and never forget what money can't buy, God delivers by grace.